I really appreciate getting to be here with y'all and for the opportunity to share this practice of mindfulness. It's a really dear practice to my heart for lots of reasons. It's a deeply personal practice for me. But I also really appreciate the chance to talk about mindfulness with you today because as you likely know from your own experience, gosh, now more than ever, it just feels like all of us could use a little bit more support in finding pathways that can lead us to calmness, compassion, to clarity, and to strength. And in my experience, mindfulness offers us that. And so I'm glad to be here today. And I hope that you find our time together supportive of your well-being. So I'll just start with, a brief introduction to myself. I've been teaching and consulting in the areas of health and human performance for almost 20 years now. And currently I have what I kind of think of as a dual appointment at Rice, where I'm able to both teach classes on mindfulness, performance psychology, and health and wellness at both the undergraduate and graduate level, as well as for adult learners. And then I also am able to serve as the sports psychology consultant for the Rice Athletic Department, and I oversee all of the recreation and wellness programs that we offer to the campus. So get to wear many hats, and I'm a really big believer in practicing what I preach, so I try and balance out all the work that I do with lots of play and regular mindfulness practice. I love all kinds of sports. I'm really into outdoor adventure. I learned to surf a few years ago, and I've gotten really hooked on that. I think for me, the greatest passion lies in the intersections of mindfulness, well-being, and nature. And I've had the good fortune of being able to develop several programs and retreats that really combine those interests. So if you're also interested in that and you'd like to learn more about what I'll be doing later on this year, I'm happy to hang around after the presentation and share more details about my work with you. So I know that most of you probably signed up for this event because it offered a chance to participate in a meditation practice. So I promise not to talk too much here in the beginning. I just want to, since I have a captive audience, want to take a few minutes to really just talk about the importance of self-care and the role that mindfulness can play. And then we'll jump into a meditation together, and then I'll open the floor for some Q&A. So any questions that you might have at that time, I'll attempt to answer. So I've been thinking about this, the challenge of self-care a lot lately. And I guess, I'd like for you to kind of close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you're sitting in your office, maybe your office at home or at work, whatever is happening for you right now. And just picture that you're having a really busy week. Maybe you have an important presentation to deliver, or some budget deadlines that you need to make, or a marketing campaign that you need to spearhead. And then, of course, we'll add on top of that the loads of small tasks and events that have filled up your calendar, and any obligations that you might be responsible for at home, work around the house, taking care of kids, gosh, these days, educating your kids. Anyway, you've got lots going on. And your question really becomes, how do you make sure that you get all of these things done? And if you're like most people, if you're at all like me, your answer is to really probably just put your head down and get to work. Maybe you ditch your workouts, you eat less meals with your family, you stop calling your friends back. And as things get busier, it's likely that you'll continue to give up the things in your life that are actually probably quite nourishing to you, but feel more optional, so that you can focus on the things in your life that feel the most urgent or important. And, while this is a great way for allowing us to check off all the items on our to-do list, it's a really lousy way to go through life. Contrary to popular belief, workaholism it isn't a virtue. And, overwork and the accompanying stress and exhaustion actually makes us less productive, more disorganized, and it leaves us feeling emotionally depleted. And I'll add to this that it can also lead to all sorts of health problems, from anxiety and depression to insomnia and heart disease. So, I see quite often, I observe a lot that too often we wait until sickness arises or fatigue really overwhelms us in order to address this issues. One of the things that I hear most from the people that I work with is that there's a fear of kind of like taking your foot off the gas. And that fear feels so big for a lot of us that we're willing to risk losing our connections to ourselves, to our health, and to our most precious relationships. And I'll say, we're not entirely at fault for this. It's a really common sentiment in Western cultures that practicing self-care is a privilege. It can be fraught with shame. It can feel selfish. It can feel indulgent. And for some people, it makes us feel lazy. We've become pretty convinced that we have to keep pushing until we're just exhausted, or that, we should be moving through life at a breakneck pace. And the fear that I think underpins a lot of that is that if we don't, we won't achieve our dreams. And we only know one way for kind of pushing ourselves forward. But this mode of constant doing, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and it's not our only option. For me and the work that I do, I spend a lot of time, convincing folks that taking care of all of you is a wise investment in your future. It's preventative medicine for your health and for the collective well-being of your community. Once we learn how to compassionately and consistently care for ourselves, we have a whole new way of being in the world and new ways of using our resources. When you think about it, when our self-care is prioritized, we can make choices consciously rather than out of habit. And this is really helpful for keeping us from building resentments, and it allows us to stay more engaged and interested in the relationships and the events that compose our life. I've heard people kind of express the sentiment that on their deathbed, nobody ever has the thought that they'd wish that they had worked more. And I think this is kind of an important thing to keep at the forefront of our consciousness. So how does mindfulness, fit into all of this? Without going into all the research on the health benefits associated with it, and there is ample at this point in time, I think the simple answer is that it provides us with the foundation that we need to restore balance in life. I really see it as being helpful in helping us hit the pause button so that we can ask ourselves what we might need in a given moment, and so that we're not just blowing around in the winds of our own reactivity, bopping from one meeting to the next, scarfing down our food along the way, carrying our emotions with us from morning until night. We can take a pause and really be conscientious about how to take care of ourselves on a moment-to-moment basis. It also helps us operate with more compassion, both for ourselves and with other people. And I think this is crucial because it allows us to meet the stressful, challenging moments with much more kindness. And it keeps us connected to the resources that we already have inside us, so that we can manage the things that we're faced with. Whether that's a hectic schedule or the vast uncertainty of an unprecedented pandemic, or any variety of painful thoughts and feelings. Mindfulness isn't a magical elixir, but as far as self-care strategies go, for me, it's at the top of my list. So So with all that in mind, I'd like to share a practice with you now, and maybe you can see for yourself how helpful mindfulness can actually be. So if your screen is up and you'd be more comfortable shutting off your video feed, that's no problem. You're welcome to do whatever is the most comfortable for you. But just take a minute now to settle back into your chair. And if it's comfortable, just allow the eyes to close. I'm going to do this with you, so I'm also going to close my eyes. Just to forewarn you, I have an unpredictable dog, so he may be joining us in this meditation, but hopefully not. We'll see. So just notice what it feels like for the eyes to be closed, maybe for the first time since the morning. Just notice the play of light and dark beneath the eyelids. Notice the gears begin to shift slightly as the attention turns inward. We'll just take a few collective breaths together, inhaling deeply through the nostrils and trying to match the length of the inhale on the exhale. Slow, even flow back out. We do this a few times. Just feel the body begin to settle. And with the eyes closed, just scan through the whole body from head to toe. Just notice any places of tightness or tension. Notice any mood states that might be present. Notice the busyness of the mind. Just get a sense of what you're working with here in the beginning of practice. Whatever you're noticing, just see if you can allow things to be exactly as they are. Even if what you meet with feels unpleasant or uncomfortable in any way. And then as you're ready, bring the attention to the breath. As if you're noticing breathing for the very first time. Seeing if you can get so close to the breath that you can notice every sensation of the inhale, every sensation of the exhale. seeing if you can follow the breath from the very moment of its inception all the way through until the last little bit of oxygen is released from the body. And you can let the breath be exactly as it is. You don't have to manipulate or force it in any way. Just observing the natural rhythm, the ebbing and flowing of the breath as it moves through the body. The breath is a great ally for us, always available to bring us into the present moment, pull us from our worries or our regrets, return our attention to right here, right now. One breath happening in one moment. And if at any time you notice that you become lost in thought, that your attention has left the breath and you've gone on into planning or fantasy, just gently return to the breath. No need to judge, label yourself as a bad meditator. This practice teaches us to begin again. So when we notice that we have gone off into reverie, the choice to return to the breath, to the present, strengthens our capacity to be mindful. And on your next exhale, just widen the lens of awareness slightly to include all of the sensations in the body, letting the integrated movements of the breath become just an aspect of experience. Noticing sensation in the feet, in the legs, and the hips. Feeling life and energy course through you. doing your best to meet each sensation with friendliness, curiosity. Relaxing and dancing with the changing waves of sensation. Over and over again, returning to the breath and the body, returning to what's happening in this moment. And in this last moment of practice, just remembering what drew you here, what needs you hope to fill, or experience you hope to have. If you came looking for peace or calmness, just inclining your heart towards those experiences now. If you came for compassion or connection, inclining your heart towards that. I'll close the practice with a reading called Blessing in the Chaos by Jan Richardson. She writes, "To all that's chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, a stilling of the voices that have laid their claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you even to the holy places, but will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible and see what shimmers in the storm. Maybe taking a last few deep breaths and bringing some movement into the fingers and toes, blinking open the eyes and bringing the room into awareness. And if it feels comfortable, you can turn your video back on, and I'm happy to answer any questions or listen to any thoughts about that experience that you're willing to share.